Welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming to the Google for Education Innovator webinar. It's August 15th for some of you in the morning, some of you in the evening. And either way, we thank you for joining us today to learn from a panel of welcome, everyone. Google Certified Innovators. Today to learn from a panel . Great. As you can see, if you're in the chat, thank you so much for coming. Today, we're here to talk about one cohort out of several that have happened in 2018. You can see here on the screen, we've already been to Los Angeles, Venice, California this year, and Amsterdam. And we're super excited for our final 3 of the year. We'll be in Madrid in October in Spanish language, Copenhagen, Denmark, our last English language of the year, and then Mexico City as well in Spanish language. So this is our last English language cohort of 2018. If you're looking for planning and what you're going to do and apply for this year, at the beginning of 2019, new cohorts will be announced. So this can be a great time for you to get excited about the program in general and plan where on your career path this might be. Today, we're going to introduce the lovely Googlers and panelists we have today. And they're going to share with us why join the Google for Education Certified Innovator program. And then we'll look at how to join. This is the first webinar in a series of 3. So today we hope to get you excited about the program, understand what it is. Our next webinar will be around the prerequisites, the level 1 and level 2 certification. And then the third webinar will be about your video and your challenge that you're facing in education. And we'll get more into that in a minute. With that, let's introduce yourselves. What's really great about being part of this webinar and prospective innovator community is there's a lot of you out there and you're your own community of people who are excited about Google for Education and are innovative and are interested in joining this community. So please go ahead and drop in the chat your name, your city, your job title, and then just for fun, because you'll see Google for Education is all about fun and magic, and so is the Innovator program. So drop in your favorite dessert. This will help us get to know you. So go ahead and while you drop that in on the YouTube chat, and hopefully feel free to share your Twitter handles if you want and connect with each other or the coaches on this call to connect with later. But I'll go ahead and go around the horn on our Hangout here and introduce our innovators and our Googlers that are here to join us. And so I'll first start with Charlotte Rosenquist, who's hosting us at Google Copenhagen. Hi, Charlotte.
Hi, everyone. Lovely to see you all. We're very excited to have you in Copenhagen really, really soon. I'm here with Katie, who will actually be in Copenhagen with you guys, and she's super excited as well. Nice to meet you.
Awesome. And what's the number one thing they should look forward to at the Google Copenhagen office?
Ooh. Well, there's a big bike as a reception desk to greet you, which is pretty cool. Yeah, and then maybe we can go out to like Tivoli in the evening as well, which is a big amusement park in the center of Copenhagen, which is pretty cool.
Awesome. Thanks, Charlotte. Thanks, Katie.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll move on to some of our innovators in the crowd. Innovators, if you wouldn't mind just sharing what city you're in as well, what cohort you were in, and what you're up to now. So let's go to Andrew Caffrey. Hi, Andrew. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Wendy. Thanks for having me. I'm currently sitting outside of Starbucks, so apologies for the background noise. And I'm from the Mountain View cohort, MTV 16. I worked in a school in the UK for 15 years, but part of the changes you could say I've made to my life since going to Innovator is that I now work full-time working with schools who are making the move to Google as a trainer and innovator, going in and working on those programs as part of the EdTech team. So that's my new job role. So you could say Innovator caused me a whole career shift.
Awesome, Andy. That's really great to hear. And it is really exciting to see as we go through some of these innovators when they finish their projects, all the great opportunities that have come their way. So thanks, Andy, for joining us. All right, and Katia, how are you? Thanks for joining us this morning.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, totally. Welcome.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Katia, and I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm part of the Call 16 Innovator Academy, the one that happened just after ISTE in Colorado in 2016. And at the time I was an innovator, I was an assistant principal at the elementary level of the private school where I work. But right after that, I became the director of academic technology, which was actually a very new position. My head of school created that position after she saw all the wonderful work that I've done and saw a need for it in the school. So like Andrew, I also changed positions after becoming an innovator.
Awesome. Thanks, Katia, and thanks for joining us today. I'm excited to see what all of you have to share with our prospective innovators today. Cool. I'm going to just show quickly, look at everybody who's with us. I'm just sharing my screen on the chat now. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Pablo. Leche's Cake, Yum, Tiramisu, Angel from NYC, Jeff from Canada. Cheddar cheese and vanilla ice cream. And Andrew was telling us cheddar cheese is a favorite snack of his as well, Chris. So we've got a cheddar fan in the house. Looks like we also have some cheesecake with Sarah and some souffle from Mitchell and Henderson. Cool. We've got a nice international crowd. We've got Michelle from Ireland who loves pavlova. Yum. Really great. We've got Andrew Hartley, bio teacher, UK, and cheesecake. So keep those introductions coming. Feel free to connect with each other. If you see an educator or an innovator in the chat that you're like, I'm from Belfast, connect with them and maybe they can help you out with your innovator application. One thing to note is I'm seeing such a global audience, and 100% you can be from anywhere in the world to attend this academy in Copenhagen. It is an English language, so if you speak English, you're welcome. And we'll chat in a bit about how you can fund your way there and some strategies for that. But let's keep introducing. We're going to go along to Ian. Hey, Ian, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
Hello. Thank you for being with you. My name is Ian. I'm part of the cohort from Stockholm 2017 last year, and that was really a great trip, and as it set me apart. It set me up. Right now, at the time, I was only a teacher, but now I'm part-time teacher and part-time consultant. I'm out working with other schools, implement innovation and technology, and that's been a really cool trip for me. And the Google Innovator was a big part of that start for me. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Ian. All right. And Matt, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
Hi, I'm fine. Thank you, Wendy. Yes, my name is Mette, and I'm from Denmark, Aarhus in Denmark, and I was a part of the cohort in London in 2013, so it's a few years ago, but it meant a lot to me. And last year I was a coach in Stockholm, and it was all very exciting to be back in with a new cohort as well. I was a teacher for 17 years, and after the academy, I became a creative ICT consultant in the municipality of Aarhus. So that's where I am now.
Awesome. Thanks, Mette. Great. All right, Teresa, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
I'm doing good, Wendy. How are you?
Good.
Okay, so Theresa Ham, South Carolina. I was in London 17, and you met Andrew, who was my coach, the most amazing man ever because he tolerated me. I have switched positions, went from an instructional coach to now a digital integration specialist. So I want to say hi to my Anderson 5 peeps who have taken me in, and Google Innovator has just opened doors that I never thought would open. And right now I'm living the dream.
Thanks, Teresa. So glad to have your energy here this morning and help inspire everybody on the chat. All right, folks, that's those are the innovators who are here to answer your questions in the chat. Thanks for introducing yourselves. Let's go ahead, and if you have questions throughout the webinar, this will be recorded at this YouTube link. So you can watch this or share this with colleagues after today if you have anyone else who's interested in applying as well. Lots of yummy desserts. All right, wonderful. So these are all the academies I chatted about. We're talking specifically about Denmark today. I mentioned if you don't live in Denmark, can you come and how do I get there? The whole 3-day event, which will be a Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at Google Copenhagen, all the food and swag and materials and fun is all provided, but you do need to find your way there. And so this could present a challenge if you're not in Denmark or not in Europe. But our Sweden cohort had innovators from over 19 countries represented. So we're here to help you find a way. Once you get accepted, there is limited financial assistance available. And there's some really creative ways that innovators have found funding before, whether that's through crowdsourcing and creating a GoFundMe, or sharing the invite letter with their administrators to see if there's any professional development funding available. But we hope that this doesn't deter you from applying up for this amazing opportunity. Let us know if you have questions or if you need tips or strategies on that from the innovators on the call today. So why join? We're going to look at a few benefits to joining the community. I think you've heard from the innovators on the call today how their careers have been enlightened and changed and their networks have grown. And so we hope that's one of the reasons you want to join. But there is actually over 1,700 innovators around the world now. This is Mountain View 2016. Many of which have become coaches and written books and all sorts of things since their cohort. But it's been going on since 2006. And so over 50 countries have an innovator in the country. And all of them share one thing, which is a passion for transforming schools with creative solutions to the world's toughest challenges in education. And even once you become an innovator and come to this 3-day event, that's not the end. You have a whole year of support to take your initial challenge that you came into the academy with and turn it into a solution and a project. And even when that's done, you're an innovator forever. And we hope you keep innovating, keep joining Google for Education at conferences, piloting new things like the new classroom at your school, and connecting, of course, with other innovators as they come into the program. Here's a few things that you'll do. You'll obviously have a project. That's the difference between this program and maybe the level 1 and level 2 certification, or even the trainer certification, is that at the heart of it is something that you're passionate about that you want to try to solve in your classroom or your school. You're also an advocate, so there'll be advocacy opportunities for you to continue to share your passion for Google for Education and transforming schools. And we'll also help you with your leadership schools through ongoing learning and development, webinars, opportunities to reconnect and learn from other Googlers and from each other. And then you'll also get mentorship from other innovators. So I'll ask the panelists if one person wants to share a bit about after they got their project idea and after the academy. Does anyone want to share what that looked like when you were paired with a mentor, a current innovator, to help see your project through? You can unmute and pipe in.
I don't mind speaking. My mentor was Jessica Laux. And actually how we were put together was there were coaches who said that she has the same amount of energy as you do. And we were on the East Coast, so we knew in the US, so we knew that would be a good pairing with being able to chat in time. So Google Hangouts was a really big part of what the mentoring looked like for us. And we just made sure she dropped in. Jessica checked on me, any help. And the moments that I had kind of bumps in the road, she'd pick up the phone and call. And it was very powerful to not only build a relationship that was not far from me, but someone who really loved technology as much as I did.
Awesome. Thanks, Theresa. And you'll have a coach at your academy who will sit at your table and help you out. And then when you leave, our goal is we can only get you face-to-face for this one time for the year. But we hope to help connect you with people who are interested in the same thing as you, and can help just meet with you regularly and help get you the support you need to help ship your project. So thanks, Theresa, for sharing that. And you've got a shout out from Darren in the chat. And awesome. Thanks, Ben, for sharing your Twitter handle. I'm going to throw in the chat right now, everyone. There is a great link that shows all of the current innovators, their projects. So it's a really great link to go if you're trying to think of where to even begin. You can look by each cohort and see their project ideas and see links to their work. So I hope you check that out when you have a moment. Cool. Thanks, Theresa. Let's keep going. Here's a few benefits to becoming a Google Certified Innovator. Of course, we're educators and we love badges and pins. And of course, we love getting recognized for all of our hard work. You know, this program and many of the other programs you're part of take a time commitment. And we know that it's a time commitment that is in addition to teaching your kids or working with teachers or whatever your job role might be. So of course, you'll get recognized for that. And you'll get visibility in our Google for Education directory, where anyone around the world can find a certified innovator either to speak or present or to work, or even just to connect on your project with. There'll be monthly resources, membership, and a collaborative community. And then you'll get exclusive looks at Google for Education launches and opportunities, focus groups as product ambassadors. And then we'll showcase your final innovation project, either tweeting it, putting it in our Google Transformation Center, so others can access and replicate your project, which is our goal, is to help you take the cool thing that you end up doing and help scale that so anyone from around the world can do your project. Cool. And I'll take a note from the panelists. Does anyone want to share either their favorite benefit out of that list or one that's not mentioned that was a big plus for you for joining the community?
Yes, I'd like to share. I think the biggest advantage was that that you get a part of this very inspirational community. That your impact will be huge afterwards, because you always have someone to ask and someone who thinks just like you and have the same passion. And I think that was really, really powerful. Awesome.
Thanks, Mette. You're totally right. And we often get that sentiment at the end of the academy that, you know, the hangover of leaving it and thinking that you're not going to be with all your people anymore. But luckily, those people are all going to be still online for you to connect with. You'll be in a chat with your cohort. You'll have email contact with them. So hopefully that energy continues. And then you get to carry the torch and hopefully light that fire at your school. All right, awesome. So here's some of our projects, and I'll drop a link into the chat of the Google Transformation Center. And that's where you can see the kind of final products of many Google for Education Certified Innovator projects. And you can see a few here, like Breakout EDU, Classroom Bridges. There's been some really great global projects that have come out of the program, and then you can find them and enact them in your own classroom as well. So I'll drop that in so you can see final projects. But don't worry, if you don't have a project idea yet, you don't have to, because our goal with this application is to have you apply with just the challenge that you're seeing in your classroom. We really want you to come to the 3-day academy with that challenge in mind and work with each other and Googlers and go through a design thinking protocol to come up with a really radical solution for it. So I'll drop in the Transformation Center into the chat here. And in particular, you can click on in the website Innovator project. So I'll click that on right now. Throw that in the chat. Okay. Go on into the Transformation Center to get some ideas. And these are just a few of the project requirements. All of this is on the certifiedinnovators.com website, which is where the application is. And you can also see on the website the level 1 certification, the level 2 certification as well. And if you scroll down, that's actually where your final application is. You'll press apply here once you're ready to roll. But this is a good site to bookmark for now if you don't have it yet. So I'll drop that in as well. Cool. So here's just a few things about your project that you'll end up doing is having a mission that matters, thinking big but starting small, right? So don't worry if your challenge seems like something that, well, this is just my classroom. We'll help you in the program think of, once you finish it small, how could it become bigger and how could you let others join in on your project? We're all about iteration and failing. So when you're with us for the 3 days, we're going to really encourage you to be brave and to try something crazy. And if it fails, we iterate and we try something new on it. So we definitely have that ethos throughout the academy, and you're with a whole group of 1,800 educators who agree with you. We also encourage sharing and spark with imagination, but fuel with data. So you'll be, even in the application process, we're going to ask you to look at some data and think, well, this is a challenge, but why is this a challenge in your classroom? Talk to some of your users, talk to some of your students and see why is this a problem? Why does this bother you? We did get a question in that said, do I already have to have a project in mind? And no, you don't. You don't want to apply with something that you've already been doing for a long time. We think those are great resources and that's awesome, but we're really looking for 36 educators that want to dive into something new and something challenging and try to solve it. So you will be kind of taking off that solution hat and really focusing on what your problem is when you come to Copenhagen. Another question that came in, is this for higher education, for aspiring educators? Yeah, if you're in education, you're eligible. We've sometimes had consultants or trainers or classroom teachers, pre-service teachers, higher education. So if you're in education and work with teachers and students, we'd love to have you here. And then how much time do I have to commit per week to work on the projects? You'll see when you apply on the website, being available for kind of weekly activities in the pre-academy before Copenhagen is a little bit more intense. And then after the academy, we'll just be pinging you monthly or so with reminders or opportunities. And it's really what you make of it. All we ask is that you submit a project by the end of your year that you feel proud of and that solved your initial challenge. And that may be scaled way back or it may be scaled way huge. So really up to you. Find other innovators and projects on that website that I shared. And then I'll take from the panelists here. Does anyone have any thing they want to share about their own innovation project and what that looked like?
I can talk about mine if you want, Wendy.
Sure.
So I was looking at the problem around workload for teachers and how much time it takes to give feedback on documents. So I went along to the academy, and after some iterations, that became us focusing on a Google Docs add-on. So my end solution was an add-on to Google Docs called Feedback Sheet that helps teachers provide quick, easy feedback on students' work. But what was key in the initial piece was that being able to identify the problem, and I could show data from the UK, from the workload survey, that sort of suggested this was a real issue to teachers where I live.
Awesome. Thanks, Andy, for sharing. And I've dropped on the screen, you guys can see, you can pull open Andrew's cohort and Mountain View. And there's Andrew. Has he changed? Has his picture changed anymore? But you could see his initial vision and challenge that he had, which was to streamline marking. So thanks so much, Andy, for sharing that. Just looking at the chat here, there's a few questions. RR has asked, could this work for preschool kids? Absolutely. If you work with preschool, early childhood education, as long as you have a challenge that you're seeing happening in your classroom, that you're interested in spending some time solving and creating a project around, you're definitely eligible. Kason, yeah, remote and rural areas of youth students, totally. These are all really good initial ideas. Katie, 36 are accepted into each cohort. And if you don't get in, I think it's important to note to keep trying and even preparing your application and your video for this cohort. You can save it and work on it for the next one, get feedback. And hopefully the application is designed anyway to be a great insight experience for yourself, and maybe that will help you with your school year, regardless if you come join us in Copenhagen. So keep those questions coming in, and thanks coaches for dropping in and answering any that that you can. So now we're going to switch to, hopefully you're excited and you think maybe you want to join this group of crazy innovators from around the world. We're going to share just a few tidbits on how to actually join. And your main steps to apply are you need the Google for Education Certified Educator Level 2. And this came about just in 2016 as a requirement. My first cohort was in London in 2010, and we did not have this requirement, and it was a wonderful experience. And we spent a lot of the time exploring tools and learning how to use them. And now what we've seen is that so many educators are so familiar with Google for Education products and strategies for integrating them, that we really want to spend the time innovating and trying new things with them. So that's why that requirement is there. It's to make sure that you go through the great self-directed learning with the Google for Education Training Center, or Teaching Center. And you can find that right on the certifiedinnovators.com site, and you can go to level 2. Our next webinar will dive all into tips on how to study for this, how to take the exam, and what that looks like. But you do actually need to upload the level 2 certificate in your application to be eligible. And that will help guarantee that all 36 innovators in the room have a baseline of knowledge about Google for Education, so they can really spend time working on the projects. If you have any questions about that certification, 1, come to our next webinar, but 2, please feel free to drop that in the chat right now, and the innovators can hopefully help answer any questions you have around level 2 certification. So that's the big one, and you have all the way up until so the application is due on September 21st to complete that. One caveat would be to probably do it sooner than later, because if you fail it, you do have to wait 7 days before you can take it again. So it might be a good idea if you need a little bit of time to give that a go. The other requirement that we have is an innovation video. And this is a video 90 seconds just around the challenge that you're facing. So it's not your solution. And that will really hurt your application if you pack in the solution into the video, because the innovators who are judging your applications are really looking at the 90-second video to get to know your personality and to see, is this person innovative, and to see, do you have an interesting challenge? You know, a lot of the times when the applications are scored, if there's a ton of the very, very same challenge, you know, we want a nice diverse experience in the cohort. So don't get down if you submitted a great challenge that you're having right now. It may just mean that a lot of other people had that challenge as well, and we wanted to make sure there was a good mix. But on this website, if you want to just see what videos look like, you can pull open a variety of videos. One caveat might be to check on this website. LAX and Amsterdam are the 2 cohorts that have done the new 90-second video that focuses just on the challenge. So those might be your best stop to watch and see what does a good video look like. How do I capture and tell my story of the challenge I'm facing in the classroom? So I encourage you to even click through this LAX cohort and watch their videos to start to get an idea. Cool. Those are the main 2 requirements. And when you go to the actual application itself, you'll see there's some short answer questions as well. In the chat quickly, if you want to share, are you level 1 or level 2 certified currently? So go ahead and drop that in. You don't need the level 1 certification to apply, but it's helpful. Some people find it helpful to start there and then take their level 2 certification, but you only need the level 2 in order to apply for the Innovator program. While those are coming into the chat, do any of the innovators on the call want to share any tips for taking the level 2 certification?
I can, Wendy.
Yeah.
So this is Katia again, and I recommend that you at least look through the units in the Google Transformation Center. Those units are oops, sorry about that. those units are fantastic for whether or not you think you are already at an advanced level. Those units focus on the application of the tools and not just the tools. So the process of going through those units will be beneficial for you no matter what.
Thanks, Katia, totally. And you'll see that it's broken up by into units that that are applicable to your pedagogy. So totally go through, get the lay of the land, study first. You'll see that the website for the trainer, for the Teacher Center is broken up by studying and then actually taking the exam. So don't register for the exam until you're ready and go through those units that Katia has mentioned. And just looking at the chat, it looks like a lot of us are level 1. We have some folks who are already level 2. Awesome, Chad, also a trainer. Simone, also a trainer. And then what's the difference, Gilhelm has asked, between innovator and trainer? Do we have anyone on the call who is both of those? And it looks like Simone even could answer in the chat for you too, Gilhelm. But the trainer program, is designed more for folks who are definitely training, like at least 12 trainings a year, other educators on how to use Google for Education. And it's a community that's specifically designed to support adult education and training and best practices. So you definitely can be both a trainer and an innovator. We have many who are. But you'll see the focus for Innovator is really at the heart of this transformational project and working on that. So don't worry, you don't have to train other educators or to be an innovator, but to be a trainer, you do. And we encourage you. Both programs are really great. So a lot of folks do pursue both. And you get your level 2 certification. You need that anyway to become a trainer, but there's a whole slew of other things that are needed to become a trainer as well, including a video and a case study.
Wendy, I just wanted to reiterate that you just said it, but to emphasize it, you do not have to be a trainer to apply. I am a trainer now, but was not when I applied for Innovator. So focus your attention now on the application and getting that level 2 rather than trying to also become a trainer before you apply.
Totally. Thanks, Katia. I think that time management that you just mentioned, Katia, is important. Of, think now, and if Denmark's on your radar, cool. But this also could be great preparation for 2019 cohorts and or the trainer program as well. So thinking of your year, a lot of your school years are just about to start. You're busy. We hope you kind of look at the next 6 weeks and think of how can I tackle this application and getting my certification for sure. Thanks, guys. Keep those questions coming in. We'll try to get to all of those. We just shared how, if you need to get certified, how to do that. And there's those units that Katia was talking about. We got a couple certification tips already. Let's go to the actual application so you all are familiar with that. So to do that, just go to certifiedinnovators.com and then you'll click on apply. The biggest thing that you can do is to click on this short link and it'll ask to make a copy of this document. And that's something all of you can do right now. If you open up the Google form and it's the application, and obviously you might not be ready to go for it yet, this is a really great draft that you can pull up and to start to gather your thoughts. One thing to note is please make sure that your characters, it's definitely designed to be short on purpose to try to cogently capture your thoughts briefly, and that helps us focus on the meat of your answer. And really these short answer questions, innovators are looking for examples of innovation. Is your passion coming through in your writing, and really at the content and what examples of innovation you've done in the past. And then the description of your challenge. So open up that doc and make sure you have it, save it now, share it with somebody at your school that you're working with, proofread it, or have somebody give it a look over and see what they think. But that's your first step, because other than the video and the certification, those are the actual questions that you'll need to answer. And you'll see that one of the questions is all about how you came up with an idea for change, how did you implement it, how did people respond, and how did you measure it? So that's just a past, something that you've done innovative, and that could be anything in your school that you've done. It doesn't have to be a full-blown project or something, but we're just looking to make sure that you are innovative and you do like to do these kinds of things. And so start thinking now of an example of what that could be and how you tackled it. Any tips from our innovators on these short answer questions? How did you go about?
I would like to share on that because I am someone who likes to talk all the time and have a lot to say. So speaking brief was difficult at first until I remembered that I'm a student champion. So I had to make sure that I came across as cheering my project on and being able to work with a cohort and a team to get to the next step. So that was critical.
Thanks, Theresa. Anyone else have thoughts or ideas on how it can be daunting to open it up and see all that you have to write, and it can be nervous, but again, we hope you have that, fail forward attitude that innovators have, and to be brave and to just write something down. And, maybe if you get in, great. But if you don't, you can always have this doc that you can work on the next year.
Wendy, I have one thing.
Yeah.
Pay close attention to the number of characters you're allowed to have versus number of words. And as with the so the one that's on the screen now says a maximum of 500 characters, not 500 words. And as a general tip, do not procrastinate. You don't want to be up until, the last second trying to rework any part of your application. And little things like that can be tricky. So just pay very close attention to all of the details.
That's a really good tip, because I think what Katia is talking about is that 11:30 p.m. you're taking your doc to transfer it into the Google form, and you get a rude awakening of suddenly you have to take to really edit your short answers down. But it does close at midnight on midnight Denmark time. So just something to keep all of our North America folks who are on the call. That'll be about 3 p.m. Your time, 3 or 4 p.m. So just keep that in mind as well. Thanks, guys, for the tips on that. I'll join the chat in just a moment and see if we have any other questions. Cool. One question that came into the sign up was, how did you even start to think of that challenge? So any thoughts around where now, like where could everybody go now to get inspired, or to even think of what their challenge is? What would you say in the next couple of weeks as they're starting to think of, and I may even suggest, going to those short answers first, and then making sure you've got that challenge down, who your users are, and then you'll be ready for your video. You're probably not ready for your video until you've got that kind of backbone down, because the video will be addressing your challenge and your user. So that could be a really great place to start. Do any other innovators have a good idea on how to begin thinking about the actual challenge that they'll apply with?
I guess I'll chime in again. I was on Twitter and looking up the hashtag for Google EI, and just kind of seeing the type of projects that were out there. Then I went to YouTube and looked at the different cohorts that had been accepted in their projects. And I think that's what helped me focus on the need. Don't fear your choice. That is something that I did the first time. I did not get into the first cohort that I applied for. And it's because I think I truly held back. So, you're an innovator. Put it out there. Make sure that you do what's best for kids, and you'll never go wrong.
Thanks, Theresa. Cool. I just dropped in the actual application into the chat. Sounds like Katie was having a difficulty accessing the link. Maybe Andy, you can take a peek and see why it's opening up for me. Bobby, I just dropped the link in here too. And it's also just on that certifiedinnovators.com page. At the very bottom, you scroll down and you click on apply for Copenhagen. I'm just going to scroll through, see any other questions about the short answers or the application itself. Go ahead and throw those questions in. Yes, Igor, possible to pass level 2 without level 1. Yes, Michael, do check on your expiration date. So if your level 2 is expired and you submit that, it won't be accepted, and it will be the application will be disqualified for not having the level 2. Igor said, does having a G Suite education account mandatory? You don't have to have one, but you do have to have a Google account when you sign up. And you'll need one for the academy to do all of our work on G Suite. But you don't have to have your school does not have to have a G Suite for Education school account, but you will have to apply with a personal Gmail or your school account. You'll see that it collects that email when you apply. Cool. Keep those questions coming in, folks.
Wendy, can I say something about inspiration for a project?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Cool. I'm just thinking about, it's cool to look at other projects, but it's also important to look what your everyday work looks like. If you work with students or you work with leaders, what problems do you see in every day? That was for me the problem. I had this 8th and 9th graders who hate innovation and creativity. They just want a good grade, and they just want me to tell them how to get a good grade, and I was really frustrated about it. So I also think it's important when you find a project that has some passion, and you can see it in your everyday, and you can solve it in your everyday.
I love that. Yeah, because if you're spending time on this, I mean, you really want it to be applicable to what you're working on. So totally, Ian. And that's a really good thing, is maybe to just, if you're just about to start school, maybe invite your leadership to say, hey, I'm going to go on a walkthrough today and look at, I'm going to go observe a class, or can someone teach my class? I want to observe it, and really just observe and take notes and see what do I notice and what bothers me and what do I want to change? And then getting really specific about that, right? So if Ian mentioned that kind of grade level interest, people being interested in grades, digging even deeper and thinking, why is that happening? And really asking why. And then that's why talking to your students and saying, hey, it seems like you're really focused on, getting an A today. Why is that? And you'll notice when you sit down with them that suddenly the real underlying problem is there, right? Maybe it's parent pressure, or maybe it's, they want to get into a good college. And so that will help you come up with the solution that's really unique, right? And not just saying, well, they like grades a lot, so I'm going to do this. But really understanding that, I think, is important. Thanks, Ian, so much. Cool. Let's look at a few more things, and then we'll take any more questions that you guys have. So we'll ask you right now to go ahead and put in the chat one challenge that you currently face. So we're going to ask you to maybe even just share right now something that you're thinking about as your challenge. So we'll just leave it up for a moment, and then innovators on the call, you can give some feedback on those as they come in. And then once you have that challenge, we're going to definitely ask you why, and have you ask those users why. So really get that user in mind. Is it a student? Is it a teacher? Is it parents? Is it administrators? And then what is the challenge that's happening to them? Just like Ian mentioned, challenge with students' motivation being so grade focused. So drop that in. We'll give it just a moment. All right, let's take a look at the chat. What are some of your challenges coming in? Engaging lower abilities. Great, Andrew. So again, if Andrew were applying, you wouldn't want to come in with it with that solution to engage those lower abilities just yet. We want that video to really make sure that you have 90 seconds to say, I'm Andrew, this is my world. And you'll see in some of the videos for LAX, they did a great job of either kind of showing their workspace, their school, kids that they work with, what they do, and then really looking at the problem, right? So if you already have an app idea for it or something you want to do, you bring that definitely to the academy, and we're going to iterate and look at it. But we really want to make sure you're wide open to crazy possibilities And so really focusing on what you found out from users when you talk to them. Are teachers who are not engaged with technology. So with something like that, really definitely making sure in your short answer application to be specific, and then to really make sure that you've asked them why and what's the underlying problem with engagement, right? There may be a whole slew of things, you know, political or, you know, otherwise that might be there, or maybe they just haven't had training, who knows? But that, I think digging in there will be really great for your video and for your short answers. Teachers refuse to use technology. So as you can see, even in this chat, we have some similarities. So you'll see when we get to the academy, you'll have time to be grouped up in affinity groups where you have folks that are focused specifically on culture or professional learning or vision. So you'll see when you apply in the actual application, it's going to ask you to identify where your challenge lies. And all of those are based on the Google for Education Transformation Center's 7 pillars of transformation. And so that will help you guide your conversations and your ideas as well. So even now thinking which bucket you're in. Special education students access to education in their language. Great, Elaine. So if if your challenge is access, again, that's specific. Where's that barrier happening? You know, maybe talking to the students themselves and saying, you know, and even when you interview them, even maybe just giving them a current resource you have at your school, hand it over to them and say, hey, why don't you walk me through what it's like to access this? And, you know, talk aloud as you do it and see what your student says as they walk through the resource. Take those notes down, and then that's your challenge. And then you're really starting to look at what the actual problem is. Dr. Manning, providing consistent support to teachers to enhance end users' academic experience. So it sounds like your challenge might be consistent support to teachers. So yeah, really looking at talking to those teachers and finding, and maybe the problem isn't with teachers, maybe then Dr. Manning, it's with, it's somewhere else, right? So when you're thinking of your users, you may want to even interview, where is that support coming from? Is it a support staff or a coach or whatever that might be, and interviewing those people. So taking all of these great challenges you guys are dropping in the chat right now and talking to the people that are experiencing them will really help. And we'll be able to tell in your written answers that you've really talked to these people and aren't really coming in with your big solution that you have, but that you really understand these people and have empathy for their problems. Mr. Heyer, teachers love Classroom, but they only use it for announcements because they don't want to take time to utilize it due to fear of tech. So that challenge might be, so that's specific with a tool, Google Classroom, and then fear. So yeah, maybe your challenge is fear for using this new tool or using it at its most basic level, or, you know, SAMR level that you have. So that'll be really interesting to see what would it take to remove that barrier and talking to them before, you know, it can be really easy to just look at these challenges right now. And I think all of us have solutions to them, right? You could say like, cool, we'll make a classroom PD hour every day after school. And a lot of us jump into these solutions either because we have experience or we think it might work. But this, we really want you to take this opportunity to really try to come up with something new and cool that could really address their problem. And to do that, you have to talk to them for sure. Angel, teachers using less online platforms to effectively communicate with students instead of having multiple accounts. I see. So multiple accounts is the problem or confusion. So they end up just using one because they don't want to deal with other accounts. That's a really unique and specific challenge. And that would be interesting to think of. How do you remove that barrier? And maybe talking to someone who signs into a lot of stuff. You know, how could you streamline that for sure? Oh, these are all really awesome, everybody. If you see somebody right now in the chat who has a similar transformation pillar as you, like culture, vision, professional learning, student engagement, it might be good to connect with them on Twitter or come to the next webinar and find out. Cool. Thanks, guys, for sharing your challenges. Those are all really great starts. take those, put them in your short answer document, and start working on them, and start thinking of the users you'll talk with. Part of the academy will be, once you get accepted, you'll have to go and have a formal interview with those users anyway. So now's a really good time to connect with them. Panelists, any other tips on getting started on their videos or creating it? All of you made really awesome videos. Any tips around that?
I have a tip about the video, and that is to make sure that we see your personality. Wendy mentioned that earlier, and we cannot stress that enough. We want to be able to see who you are and really, at the end of it, want to sit down with you for 3 days in Copenhagen. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there and show us who you are.
I love it.
I just want to say something too. I think it's important to make it simple, but have a really strong message. And that then show your personality. So it's not about tricks and stuff, blinging and stuff like that. It's more simple, but to have a really strong message in your video.
Totally, and you could definitely, even on your worksheet that you have, your brainstorm draft. Thinking of this, of telling a story. So if you had 90 seconds to tell a story, just block it out, even in words, before you start to, and think of, I want to show this. I want to, really storyboard out what you might want to show, in order to, one, show your personality, as Katia mentioned, two, as Meti mentioned, your message. If someone were to look at this and they stop watching it and think, oh, Meti's really passionate about this, and I think she's really well suited to try to solve this problem. For sure. Thanks, guys, for the tips. We will have another webinar coming up, so I'll just show on the screen here. You guys are at the first one, just learning about the program. On August 29th, the same time as today, we'll go over the prerequisites, just focusing on level 2 certification and level 1, and how you can get that. We'll also give away a few free vouchers to take the exam if you come. So do come and learn more about that. And then our final one will be preparing your challenge video on September 12th. And so you can get some ideas on how to produce it, look at some really great examples, and come there. So it's the same sign-up form that you signed up for here. Since you came to this one, you will get a reminder to come to those. So you don't have to do anything else. We'll add you to the invite. And then I was going to show a cool video. I really liked Eduardo's video here, just so you guys can see. We can leave with this. And his is 90 seconds, so make sure you don't go over or significantly under. And there's no exact formula. Like, you don't need to be super producer, but you do.
We're standing where it all began here at Cielo Vista Charter. I'm a proud product of Palm Springs Unified. You see, my mom raised me by herself with 6 brothers and sisters. Now, here's why I mentioned that. That's what we have in our valley, hardworking families in low-income areas. And oftentimes, they have to overcome a language barrier. The problem is, we're not talking enough about computer science. And we're not talking...
So he's focusing on the problem here. You can really tell Eduardo's personality. He's connected to a little bit of his history, and so you can tell your story as well. And then he takes us into his class and talking about why he wants to solve this and some examples from his students. But he's not really putting forth his idea yet to what he wants to do. So that's why this was a really good example of a video that you might want to look at. Cool, guys. We're just about at the hour. Applications are due September 21st. Any questions, drop it to info@certifiedinnovators.com. Or don't be shy. Come to #GoogleEI. On Twitter. That's where a lot of current innovators are, but it's also where prospective innovators can post their video idea, put your draft out there and say, does anyone want to give me some feedback? All of this stuff is community members for you to help. And you can ask the panelists too, if you're still worried about funding or how that might happen, some examples for funding your way. With that, I'm just going to take the last 2 minutes or so just to look at any final questions you might have. If you were trying to access the application and we're getting an error message, you do need to be logged in. So you may want to just log into your Gmail before clicking on that. that may be where that error is coming from. Let's just see any other questions, folks. Thanks everyone. Mitchell, for dropping your connections on here. Thanks, Tobias. Cool. Yeah, and guys, we'll send you a calendar invite for the Level 2 certification webinar on August 29th if you're here. And then let us know via email, and specifically if you still can't access the application. Like, we think it's just a login issue. Cool. Shilpi, challenge to foster kids, motivate students to think on their own. Cool. So Miguel, just looking at yours really quick, and really making sure to even reframe your challenge, and make sure when you're writing that short answer that you are framing it as a challenge, right? So make sure you're not saying what you want to do, but it's more of what you're noticing. So students aren't motivated, and really being specific of what does that even mean? If students aren't motivated, does that mean they, are falling asleep in class? Are they not? They have poor attendance rates? Are they not completing work? So really making sure to unpack some of these big words, like motivation or engagement, and being specific on what that challenge is. And that will really help separate your application, because a lot of folks the innovators reading the applications read a lot about some of these large words, and they really want specifics really stand out and really help tell a strong story. Cool. Any other questions? Perfect. Thanks, everyone. Excited that you all came and spent your mornings and evenings with us. Huge thanks to our panel of innovators and Charlotte, our Googler, who joined us earlier. And as you can tell, everyone's really excited to welcome you into the community. We know it's a lot of work to apply, and it can be scary to face rejection, but we hope that you feel safe and confident to try this out. We'll see you all on August 29th. Thanks so much, everyone.